Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about painting surfaces. I actually really like using brown paper, either the rolled butcher paper or paper cut out from a grocery bag, and I just use painter's tape to tape this down onto cardboard to keep it nice and flat. You can also paint on cardboard. These are some tests that I did. Just know that if you do put a lot of paint with a primer and a gesso, the cardboard will kind of start to buckle. Obviously, mixed media paper works really well. This is 80 pound, and it says it's good for watercolor, although I don't actually love it for watercolor. I like it more for acrylic. I will say that it is better to put a primer and your gesso on your paper. If you look at the back of this paper, where I put my primer and my gesso, this paper is very smooth. Where I started just painting directly on the paper, this got pretty buckled. For studies, it'll be totally fine, but if you're using paper as a final surface, you want to use your primer and your gesso. I also like using this heavy Speedball watercolor paper. This is great for studies. Again, I usually tape it down with my painter's tape onto cardboard, and I would recommend putting a primer on this as well. Something that I don't have just blank is canvas paper. You can see this has some texture to it, but it is a paper with the kind of like weave structure of canvas. And that takes us to our canvas panel. So a canvas panel is a panel that is wrapped with canvas. I painted this in 1998. I was really exploring some different things with oils at that time. But this is a great surface that's nice and rigid. You can get raw canvas that is just loose. It can come in raw form or primed. This is primed canvas. One thing you want to think about is if you're using raw canvas, make sure that you keep it rolled so that you don't get these kind of creases. Also think about if this is going to be displayed with the raw edge, or if you need to leave space so that this can be either framed or mounted later. The other nice thing about loose canvas is you can cut it to size. Since this is woven with our lengthwise and crosswise grain, you can just tear it and it'll be straight. Another option is obviously stretched canvas. This can come either primed or unprimed, and you'll see the information on the back. It'll also come with different profiles, meaning the width of the stretcher bar. Another great surface is illustration board. Illustration board is a heavy board. It comes in ply, like 10 ply or 12 ply. Make sure that you know it's illustration board. Crescent also makes matte board. I generally just paint directly on this surface, but you could also put down a primer or a matte medium as well. Another option is hardboard. This is a very rigid substrate. It can withstand a lot of paint, very, very thick application and layers. I got this from a friend and it's fun to experiment on. This has a really thick amount of modeling paste on it. You can also use these panels. The bigger ones usually have some supports in them, like this. I have started this 12 by 12, and I did use 2 coats of, when I say primer, I mean this GAC 100. And then I did 3 coats of gesso and sanded it on this side to make it nice and smooth. When I say prime, I am referring to this primer. You could also use a medium like a matte medium as a primer. Hopefully that helps you think about some different surfaces to paint on. There are a range of surfaces from very economical substrates like paper or cardboard to more expensive options like the clayboard and panel.